This morning, they gave me 48 hours to tear down my son's ramp. In December, snow by Friday. I'm Maya Brooks, night shift nurse, single mom to an 11-year-old boy named Jay, who uses a wheelchair and thinks every mailbox is a finish line. We moved into Maple Glen because the realtor promised quiet streets, a lake that actually has ducks, and neighbors who wave with their whole hands. I closed on the house with overtime, cafeteria coffee, and prayers that sounded like bargains. We built a simple front ramp, same paint as the trim, same slope the city inspector recommended. It's not cute. It is safe. It lets Jay roll outside and race our pit mix, Biscuit, to the cul-de-sac. Then I met her, Karen Delaney, HOA president. Blouse, starched like a warning label. Clipboard. Lipstick, the color of rules. The kind of smile that says she has waited her whole life to say, actually. She came by on a chilly Saturday in early November, glanced at the ramp, and said, "That structure violates Section 3B. Exterior modifications. Unapproved." She said unapproved like spoiled milk. I filed the paperwork. I told her, "I have the permit." Karen tapped her pen. "We prefer ramps on the back to reduce street impact. The backyard drops off to a gully and a stubborn oak stump." I said, "There is no path. The front is the only safe option." "You'll have a notice by Monday," she said. "Already turning." I laughed, and it came out like a cough. Fine. Paper beats pen. That's what I told myself. I took photos of the ramp. I scanned every form. I made a folder called Receipts because I have learned. You know, some doors only open when you slide paper under them first. Receipts. First, drop a city permit, stamped, approved on April 15th, with the ADA coordinator's note, stating reasonable modifications include wheelchair ramps, the slope, the width, the rail height, green checks. Monday. The letter arrived anyway. Unapproved structure. Remove by Sunday, 5 p.m. or incur a daily fine of $200. $200. Every day. It also said our paint was non-compliant, almond versus sand. I held the paper while Jay pressed his palm into mine and asked, "Are they mad at me?" "No, baby," I said, keeping my voice steady. "They're mad at a ramp." We emailed back everything. The permit. The ARC approval email approved in color almond within 60 days. Exact words. Receipts. Second drop. Within an hour. Karen replied. That volunteer previously approved in error. She CC'd the board. You ever read a CC like a thread? I hadn't. Until that day. By Wednesday, a neon stop work sticker bloomed on our railing like a rash. Except, there wasn't any work happening. We were done. Thursday. The neighborhood app had my porch posted like a crime scene. Comments about eyesores. Property values. One line, stuck like a fishbone. There's people who move in and think rules don't matter. I typed, "My kid needs to leave the house." Then deleted it, because my mom's voice said, "Never argue with folks who brought a measuring tape to a heart problem." Receipts. Third drop screenshots of the ARC email chain with Karen's approval from spring. Her initials. The timestamp. The phrase, "approved due to medical need." Friday morning. 2 compliance officers in polos knocked while I slept after a 12-hour shift. Biscuit barked the serious bark. Jay yelled for me. I stumbled to the door. "Ma'am." one said. We need to access the ramp for measurements. He said access like C's. Names, I asked. Badges. They offered first names only. I told them no entry without my consent. They rolled eyes. As they walked away, one tried my side gate. The latch jiggled. My stomach went cold. Receipts. Fourth. Drop Ring doorbell footage of both men tugging the gate and muttering, "If we cut it now, she'll have to call someone." Timestamp saved to cloud. Forwarded to a lawyer friend from church who handles housing matters on Fridays for folks like us. I sent the clip to Karen with a note. "Your people trespassed. Do not enter my property again." She replied, "Please be aware you signed covenants permitting inspection." I did not. My deed includes a rider that carves my lot out from common area enforcement and explicitly protects exterior medical accommodations so long as they meet city code. Receipts. Fifth, drop the deed page with the easement line and the clause that says exactly that. Highlighted lemon yellow. By the next week, the daily fine notices started stacking like junk mail dressed for court. $200. Another $200. A processing fee of $50 for the privilege of being threatened. I wasn't paying a penny, but the inked numbers made my chest tight. I mean, processing fee. For what? Breathing near a printer, so I went down to the city office. Scrubs and messy bun. Because sometimes you have to put your tired body in a hard chair and ask for a human. "Mr. Ortiz from Building Services looked over the ramp plans and said, "Ma'am, the city approved the ramp. If the HOA interferes with ADA accommodations, they're in hot water under the Fair Housing Act." He printed a letter on city letterhead. Signed. Using those words, reasonable accommodation. Receipts. Sixth, drop that letter. Folded neat in a plastic sleeve, like a tiny shield. I also filed a civil rights complaint with the state. Not fancy. Facts. Dates. Names. I attached the permit, the deed excerpt, the email chain, and the ring clip. It felt like tossing a pebble into a dark lake and waiting for a plunk that might never echo back. I hit submit anyway. Level 1 escalated to Level 2 fast. Like a golf cart floored. Saturday morning. We were eating waffles shaped like hearts when metal clanked outside. Biscuit's bark changed. Through the blinds, I saw a man with bolt cutters and a woman filming while narrating. "We're addressing a safety hazard." The woman, Karen. Mirrored sunglasses. Ponytail. Confidence that did not belong on my porch. I opened the door. "Stop," I said. "Low. Flat. Step away from my property." Bolt cutters glanced at Karen. She chirped. "We have authority. We voted last night by email. Emergency powers." Receipts. Seventh, drop the HOA bylaws printed and highlighted in pink. Where emergency means storm damage or burst mains. Not ramps that let a child go to school without a fireman carry. "You don't," I said. "And you can't touch this." Karen gave a nod, like she was tossing him a treat. He snipped the tiny lock on my side gate. Biscuit lunged. Jay yelled. My hands went shaky, and Mom strong at the same time. I called 911. Trespassers attempting to dismantle an ADA ramp. I told the dispatcher. Voice steadier than my knees. Receipts. Eighth drop audio of Karen saying on camera, "We're doing this for curb appeal." Heard clear as a bell over the ring mic. Patrol cars pulled up quick. The older officer took one glance at the city letter and said, "Ma'am," to Karen, "you'll want to stop." The younger officer told me I could seek a protective order. He asked if I wanted to press trespass charges. I said, "Not yet." Neighbors. You know, I hate that I said, "not yet." That night, the neighborhood app lit with a post labeled "Safety Update." Karen wrote, "Some residents think rules don't apply to them. Please be vigilant. Children could trip on unauthorized ramps." A familiar commenter added, "Certain people move in and think they can change everything. Certain people." As a black woman on a street of matching flagstones, I heard the words she did not type. I went to bed with my jaw clenched. Around 2 a.m. Sorry. 2 in the morning, I woke to Biscuit growling. A spotlight swept across our living room like a nosy moon. The HOA had installed a plate reader camera at the entrance that day without a vote. It rotated like an eye, keeping score. My friend Tiana, the civil rights attorney from church, texted, "We're done being nice. Meet tomorrow." Receipts. 9th drop, Tiana's cease and desist letter. Certified mail receipt, stapled. Demanding the HOA stop fines. Stop harassment. Stop unauthorized entry. Citing federal housing law in clear, plain words. When nice fails, you bring a binder. Tiana and I built one with tabs, permits, bylaws, emails, videos, ledger, feelings. I printed everything twice because printers smell fear. Meanwhile, fines kept coming daily, like mean postcards. The amounts added up on paper even if, legally, they were small. The HOA threatened a lien. The envelope bolded the word lien like a skull and crossbones. Receipts. 10th, dropped the letter from their lawyer. On thick paper with an embossed seal, threatening to initiate lien proceedings for unpaid compliance assessments. Tiana underlined the part where they called fines assessments and wrote "nope" in the margin, which made me laugh for the first time in a week. I knocked on doors. Careful. Respectful. With Jay riding beside me and Biscuit wearing his polite bandana that says friendly. Asked to pet. We met Kofi from 4 houses down. A software guy with paint under his nails, from building sensory shelves for his son. We met Miss Franny, retired teacher, who once brought me a casserole when Jay had the flu. We met a man who keeps to himself, but saved my trash cans from rolling into the gutter during a storm. People waved. Some whispered. Some said, quietly. We got letters. 2. Receipts. 11th, drop photocopies of 3 other residents' fines for tiny nonsense wind chimes, too shiny. Holiday lights left on past 10. A work truck parked for 15 minutes while unloading tools. Patterns matter. Karen started showing up on our street more. She took photos from her car window. She snapped while I buckled Jay's chair into the van. She recorded Biscuit peeing on our own grass. She posted croppings with captions like, "Undesirable behavior." The undertone wasn't even an undertone anymore. I felt watched in my kitchen. I kept all the blinds half closed and hated it. Receipts. 12th, drop screenshots of her posts. Metadata preserved. Her comments about maintaining neighborhood character. The HOA meeting was set for Tuesday at 7 p.m. And the agenda landed in my inbox like a hammer. Item 1. Non-compliant structure at the Brooks residence. Item 2. Emergency powers clarification. Item 3. Community security upgrades. I circled item 3 and wrote plate reader with an arrow, because ain't no way we were letting that slide without a vote. I showed up early in scrubs, straight from a shift. The clubhouse smells like lemon cleaner and disappointment. The board sat behind a long table on a little dais that makes grown adults feel taller than they are. Karen's name placard was about half an inch higher than the rest. Of course. The room filled. Some came for the drama. Some for the camera talk. Mr. Ortiz from the city slipped in quietly. So did a tall man in a navy blazer, who introduced himself as Investigator Hall from the State Civil Rights Office. Tiana set up a small projector from her bag. Calm like this was a book club with receipts. Karen banged a tiny gavel. "Welcome to our December board meeting," she said. "First item, Mrs. Brooks' non-compliant structure." She avoided my first name like it had thorns. I stood. "It's a ramp," I said. "And we have 3 minutes, cool." If I didn't say something light, I was gonna cry. I clicked the remote. The first slide popped up the city permit. Receipts. 13th drop. This is the permit you approved in April. Next, slide the ARC approval email with Karen's initials. Receipts. 14th drop. Next, the letter from the ADA coordinator. Receipts. 15th drop. Then the ring clips, bolt cutters, mirrored sunglasses, and Karen saying curb appeal. Receipts. 16th drop. The room gasped like someone opened a winter window. Karen went stiff. "Mrs. Brooks is weaponizing evidence," Tiana said. "She's presenting evidence." "Who are you?" Karen snapped. "Counsel," Tiana said. "Under a signed letter. We request immediate cessation of fines and harassment pursuant to federal housing law and state statute." She didn't raise her voice. Authority just sat on her words. Mr. Ortiz cleared his throat. "City Building Services. We approve the ramp. Interference is a violation of accessibility requirements." Investigator Hall lifted a hand. "My office received a complaint. We're present to observe. We've also reviewed the board's emergency powers email chain. Those powers were misapplied." Karen's jaw worked. "We must protect property values," she said. Some people what I asked." I didn't spit it. "But the word had corners." She didn't answer. Eyes flicked over my skin and back to the gavel. "The quiet," said the rest. "Point of order," I said, because I had done my homework with a highlighter and a headache. As a member in good standing, I moved to cease all fines, rescind the notice, and adopt a written accommodation policy that matches the law. Karen slapped the gavel. "Out of order. Mrs. Brooks is delinquent. She cannot make motions." "False," Tiana said, flipping to the ledger. Receipts. 17th, drop my dues paid through the year. Stamped received. Fines aren't dues. She is not delinquent. A neighbor in a gray hoodie stood. "My kid has autism," he said. "That ramp means he gets invited to play at Maya's." The air shifted. People sat up. A woman dabbed her eyes with a sleeve. Miss Franny rose next. Spine straight as a yardstick. "Enough," she said. "Let the members vote." Karen tried to adjourn. She tried to table like table was a place to hide. But the room was done being managed. Hands went up so many, it looked like a field of small flags. The motion passed by a landslide. Receipts. 18th. Drop the sign in sheet and tally. Photograph twice for folks in the back. Then the floor did something unexpected. Kofi asked, "What about the plate reader camera installed without a vote?" I got a letter threatening a fine for idling while I buckled my toddler. Another woman said, "What about my holiday lights? They fined me for leaving them on past 10. but Karen's friend left hers on all night. A man added, "They towed my work truck and charged a release fee in cash." Heads turned. Karen's gavel tapped like a nervous foot. Receipts. 19th. Drop a spreadsheet from a former treasurer. Bless whatever guilt woke him up, showing so-called processing fees routed to a separate account labeled Community Improvement Fund, managed by Karen's cousin. Not giant numbers, but not tiny. Enough to smell wrong. There's a hush when people realize the story is bigger than a ramp. It landed heavy. Investigator Hall stepped forward. Board. You are strongly advised to call a special vote tonight on the motion presented. The state is prepared to seek a temporary restraining order if interference continues. Karen shook her head. We don't respond to threats. It is not a threat, he said. It is notice. Tiana pointed at the bylaws. Members may recall directors by simple majority of those present at a special meeting called for cause. She read the line. Receipts. 20th drop. People murmured. Someone began printing ballots on the clubhouse printer that jams if you breathe on it. Volunteers smoothed paper like it might fix the jam by osmosis. We filled in little ovals with borrowed pens. Jay sketched a robot on the back of mine while we waited. Ramp for a smile. When the count finished, the secretary's hands trembled. Removed, she said. Voice like a prayer and a verdict. Karen stood, then sat, then stood again. I almost felt bad. Almost. Miss Franny took the gavel, turned it in her hand like it was heavy, and tapped once. First motion, she said. Apologize to Maya and Jay. The room clapped soft at first. Then a wave. My face burned. Jay squeezed my fingers until my bones sang. Receipts. 21st, dropped the written apology, printed in the next newsletter, and posted to the app without edits. For once. Aftermath needed teeth. Not talk. Within 2 weeks, sorry. Within a couple of weeks, the HOA signed a settlement drafted by Tiana and reviewed by the state. All fines rescinded. The ramp recognized as permanent. A new accommodations policy mirroring federal law. Mandatory training on disability access and implicit bias for the board and volunteers. The HOA also agreed to fund an accessible path to the playground and install one adaptive swing and a smooth entry at the pool, $10,000 earmarked in the next budget. No funny business. Receipts. 22nd drop, the signed settlement. The budget page with the line item for accessibility improvements. And dates for training in late January and early February. Karen. She resigned from the board fully the next month. The state opened a formal inquiry into the processing fees. I'm not cheering for handcuffs. I mean, not out loud, but I am. Rooting for consequences. The plate reader camera came down the first clear day after the vote. The metal post left a round scar in the ground that looked like a healed wound. Overnight, the neighborhood app got quieter. People posted recipes and garage sales again. Someone shared a photo of a fox at dawn, and nobody argued with it. We threw a ramp decorating day the same weekend the first flurries showed up like shy confetti. Miss Franny brought a box of warm white lights. Coffee brought zip ties. Which, fun fact, fix 90% of life. Neighbors I barely knew brought garlands and bows. Jay rolled biscuit up and down like it was a runway. He laughed bright and loud. A teenager from 2 streets over who always skates by without looking up stopped, held the rope of lights for me, and said, this looks dope. Then blushed. Community is so ordinary, it sneaks up on you. Receipts. 23rd. Drop a photo of the ramp with a simple string of lights and a tiny wooden sign Jay painted that says welcome. Letters a little wobbly. Heart steady. I still kept the binder by the door. Not because I wanted another fight, God. No, but because I learned something. Paper matters when voices don't. And voices matter when paper gets twisted against the people it should protect. But Karen was not done. Folks like that don't retire, they regroup. She started a private group chat called Preserve Maple Glen, where she vented about chaos and character and safety. Screenshots swam to me like fish. In the chat, she floated a plan to create a volunteer patrol to document violations after dark. Receipts. 24th. Drop those screenshots. Dates. Names. And a comment that made my shoulder blades cold, somebody wrote. Get plates. Stop the outsiders. Outsiders. We all heard it. On a windy Thursday, I came home to a bright tag on my van wiper. Parking violation vehicle with medical placard parked facing the wrong direction. Facing the wrong direction. The van was in front of my own house. Same as always. Left wheels to curb because our side of the street is weird. It felt petty on purpose. Receipts. 25th. Drop a photo of the tag. Who signed it? Volunteer patrol, no badge. No authority. Just printed audacity. I sent an email to the new board. Miss Franny replied within an hour. Bless her. That tag is not valid and not authorized. Please discard. We will address at once. Next day, a clean notice appeared on the app. Volunteer patrols are dissolved. No one other than city officers or hired security may issue warnings. Complaints must be submitted through the form. Transparency. Accountability. Full stop. Karen posted a long paragraph about how the neighborhood was changing. She said words like standards and tradition. She never said my name, but her words brushed my door like cold air. I ignored it. Mostly. Except late at night when the house was quiet. I thought about locks. Receipts. 26th drop. A brand new motion-activated camera facing the street. Purchased on sale, with tips from a double shift. Sometimes, safety looks like blinking blue. 1 week later, Jay's school called. The ramp at the side entrance is blocked. The secretary said, looks like a trailer parked across it. I left work early. When I got there, an old landscaping trailer sat hulked in front of the ramp, like a sleeping animal. A small sticker on the bumper said, Maple Glen. Beautiful. My stomach sank. I called the principal. I called the city. I called Tiana. Then I called the number on the landscaping trailer. A man answered. We're doing a favor, he said. Lady said it was okay to park here for a couple hours. What lady? I asked. He said a name I knew too well. Receipts. 27th. Drop a photo of the trailer blocking the school ramp. Time stamped. And the principal's incident report noting the delay in access for students with mobility devices. That one went in a new tab called Enough. The next board meeting had more people than chairs. Parents from Jay's school came. A reporter from the local paper. 2. With a notebook that made Karen itch. The agenda was chunky finalize accommodation policy. Present playground plan. Discuss security. Accept resignation letters. And public comments. Karen sat in the second row. Arms folded. Wearing sunglasses inside, like the sun was out in her heart. We did the policy first. Clear language. Simple forms. Deadlines for responses measured in days, not months. We voted it in. Next, the playground plan. Kofi had drawn a beautiful sketch of an accessible path, a poured-in-place surface, and one adaptive swing. The budget line read $10,000. We voted that in. 2. People clapped because sometimes the mundane is the miracle. Then, public comments. The principal from Jay's school spoke. Measured and cool. Any interference with access affects children. She said. Not just one. Many. The trailer photo appeared on the projector. Karen shifted. I went last. I read a short letter I wrote on my lunch break. I am not your enemy. It started. I am your neighbor. My son is a kid. Not a cautionary tale. He deserves to leave the house without a permission slip from Taste. My voice cracked once. I let it. Receipts. 28th. Drop an email from the landscaping company owner apologizing. Attaching the text thread with Karen where she told him, park there. The school uses the other side anyway. Which is false on its face. Investigator Hall stood at the end. Our office is expanding the inquiry, he said. We've received additional reports of selective enforcement and unauthorized surveillance. We will work with the board to ensure compliance. He handed the secretary some papers. Karen stared at the wall, like it had betrayed her. The reporter asked for a quote. I said, this is not about punishment. It's about protection. Protecting our neighbors from rules used like fences. She scribbled. The next day, the article ran with a photo of Jay's robot drawing, and the ramp lit up soft. The headline was gentle. For once. Spring crept in like it was testing the soil. The accessible path got poured on a warm Saturday, while kids chalked spirals, and Biscuit begged for popsicles he wasn't allowed to eat. The new swing arrived, and Jay took the first turn. His laugh lifted and bounced off the water. People smiled without checking side eyes first. We held one more vote that month to codify a recall mechanism that is clear. To require open financials. And to sunset any camera installation without a community vote. It passed easy. The plate reader hole grew grass. I still see Karen sometimes. Walking fast. Hands stuffed in pockets. Sunglasses off now. She runs a yoga class at the community center. I tried it once. She offered me a mat. I said thank you. We did the poses badly together. Ain't that something? Receipts. 29th. Drop a snapshot from training. Day board members leaning over binders, while the ADA coordinator from the city explains ramps. Door widths. The difference between taste and access. A line from our handout is taped to our fridge design for the edges, and you help the middle. 2. I keep the big binder on a shelf by the door still. Not because I expect more drama, I hope not, but because of what it represents. Paper and people. Together. The right to move through your own front door without asking permission from someone whose favorite word is no. Sometimes. Late. When I bring groceries up the ramp after a shift, I look up and down our street. It's the same cul-de-sac quiet. Geese at the lake. A fox at dawn, if you're lucky. But it feels different. Lighter. Like a window got opened and the air changed. Jay rides down with Biscuit and brakes with a squeak that alerts every squirrel and makes me laugh even when I'm bone tired. He always looks back. Hand out. Like he's asking, you coming? And I do. Every time. Because this is our home now. Not because someone let us. But because we learned the rules. We fixed the bad ones. And we made room for more of us. So, What would you do here? Would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have rolled that binder into the light and let the whole room see?